Hello, oh brilliant ones. I am so happy that you are joining us today. And today is really a great day. And I am so excited for those of you who are joining me here on LinkedIn. And how are you doing, first of all? Let me just start there. If you're doing well, that's awesome. I'm doing well. I live in Orlando, Florida, and it's spring. And that means it's already 85 degrees. So I'm not complaining, very grateful, very thankful to live here in Florida. And can you believe that we're already in spring? The month is almost half over. What? And so as you're joining, go ahead and just post in the comments where you're from. Hey, Christy Hughes, how you doing, friend? Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know several of you, I came on a few minutes early because in a moment I'm going to introduce a really good friend of mine that I really believe that you will love everything that she shares. Hey, Jason Murray, what's happening? Yes, the Mouse House days. Listen, you're going to have a great time in the Mouse House. Just be prepared when you go to Disney next week. When you leave, your pockets are going to be a little lighter. I'm just saying. Hey, Stephanie Jordan, how you doing, friend? Oh my goodness, I have known Stephanie. Okay, Stephanie, I'm telling us. I have known Stephanie literally since I left Disney and have been as a full-time entrepreneur. We met at State Farm years ago, and we've always stayed in contact. Here we are 18 years later, Stephanie. Can you believe it? Hey, Sarita, how are you from New York City? Sean Lyles. Sean and I used to work together at Disney. Good to see you, Sean. Christy, you are in what? Rhode Island. That's right. So Christy works for an amazing company, Signet Jewelers, who, by the way, Signet had a record quarter because of their staff. And I was so happy to see the CEO say that. Hey, Sandra from Michigan, Yvonne, all of our friends are here. So guess what? Let me tell you about our guest. And I'm going to read this because I don't want to miss anything. Heather Crider is a speaker, high performance strategist, and neurocoach that offers brain-based strategies for growth. Her podcast, Go Reflect Yourself, offers self-reflection strategies to discover who you are meant to be. So if you like a really great podcast, please make sure you follow her podcast. And before Heather comes in, I just have to say hello to Naomi Moneypenny. Oh my goodness. Quick little story. Naomi and I shared the stage almost about 8 years ago at Microsoft's big client event. Naomi, I'll have to do a live with you one day. Naomi is an astrophysicist. I mean, absolutely like brilliant, wonderful human being. So Naomi, we have to have you on the show. I just want to say hi to you real quick. Okay, let's bring in Heather J. Crider. Hey, Heather.
Hello, Simon T. Bailey.
So good to see you. So good to see you. Okay, let's just jump right in, Heather. What is a neurocoach? Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, for people like me that really have a really fun time, I love to study neuroscience. So on my off time, that's what I do. And other people like me, neurocoaching is, you said it earlier, it's a brain-based strategy, really understanding how one has wired your brain. But people who are trained like me, we can actually overcome any obstacle or really dilemma, reduce anxiety, all of those things through these brain-based approaches. And it's a very different type of interaction where we dip into the real part of our brain and get out of this thinking part that gets us in trouble. So we get action and results quickly because we kind of have some super ninja tricks to retraining our brains.
Oh, that's good. So I know everyone is wondering, how in the world did you choose neuro coaching and becoming this strategist as it relates to thinking about our brain differently? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know.
It's a long story, but the short version is I've always loved personal development and trying to figure out how to grow and be better versions of ourselves. But to be very honest, I went through what I call significant emotional experiences personally. And just in life, I needed to try to figure out how to overcome my own personal challenges to be a good mom and leader and business owner and colleague and all of those things. And the personal growth that I thought I was good at, I really didn't understand what was going on in the brain.
Wow.
So my quest was really for my own reason. And the more that I understood it, and the more I really started getting intrigued in results too, I started incorporating in my business and then just kind of developed from there.
Wow. Let me just say hi to a few folks. Hello, Gail, Ricardo, Anissa, Patricia. So here's the other question, Heather. How did you go from an accountant to a business owner who does neuro coaching and a number of other things? What was that leap like? I mean, that's a huge leap.
Well, no offense to accountants because we need accountants. My education is in accounting and business, and I quickly learned it was not for me. I just sitting in looking at numbers all day, even though part of my brain likes that analytical part, but I needed more. I needed more of an impact. And really, once I started understanding more of how my personality was wired and my brain was wired, then I could really use my strengths to my advantage. And I just needed more direct impact with people. And again, no offense to accountants, they're wonderful people, but it just wasn't for me ultimately. And the rest is history, as they might say.
Okay. All right. All right. I have a few more questions for you, but listen, folks, if you have a question for Heather, go ahead and post your question in the comment and we'll get a chance to ask her questions because whenever I talk to Heather, she's like wicked smart, as they would say in Boston, wicked smart. So how important is a growth mindset and how does it impact how you show up every single day?
Yeah, that's such an important question. And I think the simplest answer is really look at what we've gone through over this past year.
Mhm.
And again, when I really started my journey of really reflecting and looking at my actions and how I was thinking, I didn't have as much of a growth mindset years ago as I thought that I actually did.
Wow.
But if we really think about this past year, a growth mindset allows us the opportunity to reflect and embraces change and embraces perspective and diversity of thought. And without that, that's when we tend to ruminate and worry and fear and get really stuck in a limited perspective that stifles our growth, our happiness, our connection with other people. So a growth mindset really is essential for well-being.
Wow. Wow. So one of the things you talk about a lot in your podcast is about the power of reflection. And if there's a person that's listening to us live right now and they're looking for a practical step or tip on how to become more self-reflective in as they examine their life, what would you share with them? Could you coach us in the moment?
Ah, let's do it. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's go right now.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. How do I reflect? I don't know how to reflect. Coach Heather, help.
It's often scary because reflection means you might peel back layers and find things you may not like. And there's there's a Charlie Brown comic strip where Lucy comes up to Charlie Brown and she says, "Hey, Charlie Brown, I want to change the world." And Charlie Brown says, "Oh yeah, Lucy, how are you going to do that?" And Lucy says, "I'm going to start with you, Charlie Brown. I'm going to change you." And I love that, because if you really, there goes that growth mindset.
Right.
We often think if we can change everyone around us and all our circumstances, that everything will be perfect. And so that reflection process can always, not always, often be scary. So I look at it as the courage to reflect. And the simplest thing is just to notice, just to stop and just notice, what are you saying to yourself? What are you thinking to yourself? That's really the best place to start, because if you can notice what you're saying to yourself, often that's how our behavior starts to translate, and it's a domino effect. So the simplest way is just to start just by noticing with curiosity, with kindness, without judgment, and say, "Hey, I really do think like that." Or, "Hey, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that came out of my mouth," or that thought occurred. It's not a judgment place. It's just
Wow.
that beginning awareness.
That's so good. That's so good. Okay, I've got one more question for Heather, but I want you, if you have a question, please post it in the comment. Let me just say hi to Melanie. Hey, Rachel Landrum, how are you, friend? So good to see you. Let's see, who else? Gail, hope you're doing well. So here's the other interesting question. Your podcast is called Go Reflect Yourself, okay? Now, when somebody hears it, they're like, what? And I love the name. How did you come up with the name? Go Reflect Yourself. And it's kind of like counterintuitive. Give us the backstory of what people are taking away when they listen to your podcast.
Yeah. So the backstory really was a joke of a conversation years ago, like 8, 9 years ago. I was having a conversation with a colleague and just talking about similar things, just frustration of growth, of everything in our lives, of stress. And I just kind of blurted it out because I'm really deep in my own journey and understanding my own brain. And I said, "You know what? If people would just go reflect themselves, maybe we would be happier." And it really was that simple. And I'm kind of quippy like that sometimes. And I just loved it. I gravitated towards it. But full circle is what people get out of it is we have to look within. If we fail to go within, we really go without. And Go Reflect Yourself, and my entire reflect movement is we have to connect with ourselves first.
Sure.
So in order to connect, you must reflect.
Oh, that's good. Post that, please, Megan. Post that. Say it again, Heather. Say it again.
In order to connect, you must reflect.
That's a joy bomb. Boom. I love it. I love it. That's so good. That is so good. So here's a question for you. Because you were talking and it sparked another question. This is International Women's Month, and we are celebrating you and brilliant women all over the world, and certainly all of the women that are here on the platform. When you look back over your life, have there been any women that have impacted your life? And if so, who are they and what do they do?
Oh my gosh, so many, so many. Just very, very quickly, starting with my own grandmother, looking at just her work ethic and her ability to have compassion, but yet strength and to overcome things. That was a huge inspiration for me when I was growing up, and I was very lucky to have that relationship with her.
Nice.
I've been lucky to have wonderful mentors in my life and people I've never met, also just learning, watching the grace and dignity of many women over the world. And Honestly, I've learned a tremendous amount from my daughter, who is now 16. Oh my gosh,
What?
16. But just watching and seeing yourself in this being, but just also being inspired by your actions and the independence that they have of their own. There's so many wonderful, wonderful women, and I just encourage anyone to get a mentor, a coach, a mentor, even if it's somebody you don't know, to read their books, to listen to their messages. It's an endless amount of wonderful resources, and women everywhere just having that strength, and the men like you, Simon, that support us. It works in collaboration, a beautiful collaboration.
So kind, so kind. Naomi has a question for you. And she said, Heather, could you please talk about techniques to take yourself out of the pressures of work and life to abstract where we want to go for future growth?
That's a huge question. And so I'll go back to what I said earlier of just starting with that awareness. And right now, let's be honest, we've had extra amount of stress and anxiety over this past year. Stress and anxiety is not new in our lives, but having that ability to be able to understand and connect to your body, your mind, what you're saying, what you're thinking. And I'll give you one super quick tip now that can really help just connect those pieces together. And that's called just a minute to arrive. And before you enter into anything, a conversation, an email, a meeting, anything that you need to really show up at, just take a moment, take 3 deep breaths, and ask yourself, what is the most important thing right now? And
Mm.
that will start a pattern, as simple as that is. Just that 1 minute to arrive with 3 breaths to connect to what's important now, that will start a pattern. And then you can build and build and build. But that's the simple short answer. But I encourage, that's go reflect yourself. We try to have as many tools as possible, and we have a really great resources and a self-reflection workbook that helps add and build to these skills. So I'm happy to share any resources that we have that might be able to help.
You know what, Heather, give your contact information and how they can follow you and find out more if individuals want to go and truly self-reflect. I want them to get these resources. So go ahead and give that now.
Absolutely. So Heather J. Crider, heatherjcrider.com. All my social media is Heather J. Crider, and Go Reflect Yourself. GoReflectYourself.com also has the podcast under the same name, Go Reflect Yourself. So you'll be able to find resources on both.
Awesome. I love what Gail just shared here. We'll promote that as well. When we review our lives, we can make changes for the better, share that happiness and positivity with others. Thank you so much. That's so good. Alina says, another awesome live guest. And then she says, daughters rock. I think Alina must be as the mother of a daughter. I'm just saying, that was like so obvious. So just a couple more questions. And folks, if you have questions, please post them in the comments. We'll make sure that Heather gets a chance to share with us. So when you look at your life and you look at where we are now, it's springtime and we want people to spring into action, right? If there's someone that's listening to us right now and they say, you know what, Heather, I'm stuck. How do I get unstuck and spring into action with a new mindset? What else can I do besides taking the 1 minute to arrive, besides self-reflecting, besides being self-aware? How do I just get unstuck? Or there may be somebody's listening saying, Simon, you know what? I'm not stuck. I'm good. How do I accelerate? So unstuck and accelerate.
Great, great questions. And I think no matter which place you're at, start where you are. So often in the stuck mode, we get stuck in the past. And that fear, doubt, and worry really limits our ability to move forward. So starting where you are, there's a book, and I cannot remember the title of it right now, but it's newer and it talks about being good-ish. And what that means is we beat ourselves up a lot, and that self-doubt, self-criticism, all of these voices come into our play. If you start where you are and really kind of take a look, there's three versions of ourselves. There is the version of who we were, who we are right now because of who we were, and who we want to become. And so I always look at discover who you are now. That's that self-reflection process. And that's not a self-critical voice. It's just kind of an honest thing. And there's parts that you'll love about yourself. And then really discover who it is you want to be. Not necessarily the outside perspectives, but how do you want to feel? How do you want to act? How do you want to show up in all key areas of your life? When you can identify really who you want to become, then you can back into the how. And quite frankly, the people talk about the why all the time, and this will answer the question of stuck and moving forward. But people talk about find your why, and that's great, and there's great validity to finding your why. But I can assure you, and there's neuroscience that will back it up as well, finding your why will get you motivated, but discovering your who and becoming your who will keep you inspired to take action day after day after day. So they're not mutually exclusive, but finding your who is way more valuable to staying in action. And there's lots of brain tricks to really go through and restructure habits. Habits are a big, big, big part. But just resetting, having that presence and understanding that you're connected, and then really discovering who you want to become, those things will get you unstuck and catapult you to really that life of full wellness and well-being that you deserve.
Wow. So there was a question, and literally, you've already answered the question. Alina wanted to know, how do we search inside ourselves for inspiration for vision and strategy during this season of social isolation and devoid of networking and in-person connection opportunities? You literally just answered it. So I hope all of you, as Heather was sharing with us, you really think about focusing on that who. I've never quite heard it be said that way, because everybody says the why, the why, the why. I've even said the why. I'm kind of like the why guy, but I think you totally stretched us and invited us that it's about the who. That's so good. That's so good. Okay, so last question. When you think about where you are right now, you think about being a business owner, an awesome mom, a podcast host, a neuro coach who offers brain-based strategies. I just had to say, I need to be your hype man. I'm just saying.
I love it.
What are you most excited about as you think about where you are and the future that you're moving towards?
Yeah. First and foremost, I have to say, and it's maybe corny, but I have to say I'm excited to see my kids and how they're moving through these next stages of their lives. And it's so scary that we're already at the stages we're at, but that is the most rewarding by far. But in my career, both for me personally and professionally, because again, I look at things as we have harmony in our lives. It's not an either or. It's I am all parts of me, and I get gratification from all parts. But I'm really looking forward to being able to continue sharing my gifts, my strengths to help others to be able to decrease the stress and anxiety in their lives so they can discover and become who they are meant to be. And for me, that's a huge honor, and it's a huge gift to be able to do that. And quite frankly, it took me a long time to get there in my own personal journey to understand these really are my gifts to share. And I'm just so excited and very honored to be able to do that.
Wow, this is so good. Listen, you have inspired some people today. Uh, Melanie says, Heather, this has been an incredible, difficult time for job seekers, especially long-term unemployed. They're continually going through highs and lows. What strategies do you have for those long-term unemployed individuals to combat their depression?
Yeah, and that's a very, very important question. And I definitely empathize and will not take away from the level of seriousness to that situation. And honestly, mindfulness, meditation, the more, and this is a balance. A lot of people talk about if you get stuck too much in your head, it causes more depression. And that is true, but there's definitely a balance of getting stuck in your head versus being within and meditating and finding that peace and calm within yourself. I used to think that meditation, you had to be a bald white guy on top of a mountain to meditate and be effective. And that's not true. There's very simple ways to be able to find that connection and meditation and mindfulness. So really it's that. It's being able to have the resilience in your body, in your brain, and then be grateful. Then it's those little things. Simon, you asked me earlier what I'm most excited about today. And today, I'm just grateful for this moment. I'm grateful that I'm able to experience another day. And the more we can be grateful, the more it puts positive influences in our brain. And then the third big component is reaching out and helping others. Usually when we get outside of ourselves in that capacity and reach out and help, then it shows us and it fills us up with pleasure, and it shows us a sense of satisfaction and worth as well. So I hope that helps.
Wow, that's so good. The moment you said reach out and help others, what really spoke to me, Emory University has just come out with some new research that says when you help someone else, getting outside of yourself in the midst of a situation where you feel as if you're looking through the rear view mirror of yesterday instead through the windshield of tomorrow. What Emory says is when you help someone else, the reward centers in our brain begin to light up almost as if you have been on the receiving end of what you've given. And they call it, Heather, you'll love this, they call it the helper's high. What? The helper's high. So when I have those moments and I'm so in my story, I think what you said was just brilliant. Get up and help someone else because you're moving beyond yourself and you are reframing, resetting, and reigniting yourself from the inside out because you are the spark. You find that spark.
Absolutely. Do you remember the TV show Friends?
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
one of an earlier episode where Joey and Phoebe are having an argument about altruistic behavior and how there's no selfless deed. And they went round and round. And the more Phoebe, the more good deeds she did, the better she felt. And she was angry because she's like, no, I really want to be selfless. But
Yeah.
she kept feeling really good for all the things that she was doing. That's exactly what you're talking about.
Wow, that's so good. That's so good. Well, everyone, you have heard from my friend Heather J. Crider. Heather, I just want to say that I appreciate you. I value who you are. Thank you for making a difference in my life. From time to time, Heather will send me just a text with an emoji that just brings so much joy and happiness in that moment. And I am just appreciative. We may not talk often, But when we do, it's about the quality, not the quantity. So I am so appreciative of your genius, of your kindness, of your joy and your happiness, and most importantly, for being my brilliant friend. So everybody, can we just thank Miss Heather? Give her a what? So appreciate you, Heather. Go and follow heatherjcrider.com. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Gail. Rachel, so good to see you as always, my friend. We have folks that join us every single week. Oh my goodness, Anissa. I hope all of you have joined it. And listen, on behalf of our team, we want to let you know that we love you and we believe in you. We hope that during this moment in time, we just took a few moments to hug you with our words. All right. So have a great day. Remember, you are the spark. Go and make a difference.